We are Haley and Cooper, and last year we bought a 1997 Winnebago to travel the United States. After 6 months of needed updates and fixes, we officially set off on our journey. We are currently headed out west and will be documenting our adventure here. Be sure to follow along to see where our journey takes us.
It has officially been 3 weeks of full-time RV life. Very exciting. It was a very busy week.
Yep.
On Sunday, we started out going through Custer and seeing the wildlife loop. We saw
It was
bison
awesome.
cross the road right in front of us, which was really cool.
Yeah, pro tip, they actually weren't on the wildlife loop this time, so definitely check out the visitor center. They can tell you where all of the bison are in the area at the moment, which is how we discovered where they were. So, but I mean, hundreds of bison crossing the road. It was so cool.
The park rangers said there was a herd of 400 to 500 bison, and we went, and he wasn't lying.
Yeah.
They were right there, and we timed it perfectly. We pulled up, and the whole herd was crossing the road. Like one car in front of us. Some of them crossed directly in front of us. We got some really cool videos, really great pictures. It was really cool and exciting. Definitely recommend that.
So we took the wildlife loop. We started at the regular visitor center. Like I said, kind of took a minor detour to go see the bison, drove most of the rest of it, went down to the wildlife station visitor center, which is a whole nother one. And then they recommended us going this back way through Wind Cave National Park, which is just underneath it. And that was something we were planning on doing anyway. So unfortunately, Wind Cave itself is closed for this particular season. They were redoing the elevators, so it's closed until the fall, which is too bad because it's supposed to be this really beautiful, complex cave. But we drove through a lot of the national park area, went to the visitor center, checked it out. So that was still, it wasn't as cool, but it was still cool.
Yeah, we got the history on Wind Cave, how it was found, what has all happened with it. Very interesting. If you're in the area, stop by. I would imagine it would be much cooler when the cave is
actually go into
actually open. You can go into. It's one of the most complex caves in the world. Also one of the biggest, we learned. So very cool, very exciting. But we're gonna go back when the cave is open.
Makes a big difference. So we did that. Then we kept going in the Wind Cave National Park area. We hiked the Rankin Ridge Trail, which was a recommendation we got. Really beautiful, very short, which was nice. And then there was a fire tower at the top. So got to hike to the top of that. Amazing views. You could see the Badlands where we had obviously just been, way off in the distance. All the way around was just incredible. So definitely recommended that. And that was Sunday.
Yeah, and then Monday was our 1 year wedding anniversary. Woo! So we tried to celebrate and do something cool, more unique. So we were like, what better way than go to Mount Rushmore?
Unfortunately, the weather was not on our side. So we drove Iron Mountain Road, which is kind of this very scenic route through the mountains, to get to Mount Rushmore. And we were like driving, we're like, wow, it's really foggy. We're probably not going to see anything. And we were correct.
So we drove right up to where you would park and go in, and we couldn't even see the edge of the parking lot. So we determined it wasn't really worth it. We'll wait until it clears up. So we kept going on that road, which led us into Keystone, which is a little town or city, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, very touristy. It was all right. I mean, it was pretty much like any other tourist town. The setting was pretty cool. It's in this valley surrounded by all the Black Hills Mountains, but I mean, it's just every shop sells you the same t-shirts kind of thing. The coolest thing in that town was that was the first time we encountered this company called Doll's Chainsaw Art, which I think is pretty famous and popular in that area. They have multiple locations, but this is the first one we found. It's two brothers who, since they were 17 and they're like in their 30s now, have been just doing chainsaw art of all different kinds of things. So bears that are like this size to Native Americans that are, I don't know, like 20 feet tall, big arches.
They had the world's biggest Sasquatch wood carving out in front. So it had to be, I would say, 50 to 75 feet from, like, he was sitting down, but like from his foot down to the top of his head.
Yeah, it was really cool. We saw a lot more of them as we went on. We'd actually seen a buffalo created by them the previous day, but we hadn't known that it was theirs as well. So he was my favorite. He was cute.
Probably the highlight of Keystone and some of the other areas we went. And if you time it right, the brothers will actually be there and they'll be carving, and you can see them carve. They can carve like the bears and the eagles supposedly in under an hour, which is amazing because they look pretty complex.
Yeah.
And then you can see like the other people there painting and burning the wood to give it the detail.
Yeah, that was our favorite part about Keystone in particular. Like I said, super touristy, so not necessarily a must go. But so we did that, and then we drove to Hill City, which was actually closer to our campground, and explored there. And we really loved Hill City. Of all the towns we were at in the Black Hills, it was our favorite. It was the most, it felt the most authentic. in comparison to the other ones. I mean, there was still like some touristy shops, but more things that were unique and local, and you felt like the locals were actually showing you something that they had created or been interested in, or at the very least, all the shops were diverse. So that was our favorite city that we were in.
Yeah, my personal favorite shop is there was the dinosaur museum and exhibit, and you could go in and actually buy dinosaur bones, which was really cool. They look like little rocks, but on the paper it says, you know, like verified dinosaur fossil. So I got a couple of them. There's also a megalodon tooth, which is super cool, all fossilized and in bags. So I'm gonna keep those forever now.
And it's like the South Dakota Geological Foundation or something. So it's more legit that he made that sound. Or it's like, you can't tell if they're dinosaur bones. We trust it because it's this nice museum and things like that. So we went there. That was really cool. There was another Dulles Chainsaw Art. So we got to see the largest Smoky Bear in the world was there as well. But yeah, Hill City in general was just the most pleasant to walk around. We spent a lot of time there. We actually ended up at their library like every day working in the morning. One, because of just the free Wi-Fi and the air conditioning. So that was a great spot, and Hill City was definitely our favorite. We recommend. So that was on Monday, and then
for dinner on Monday, we went to Bluebell Lodge.
Yes, Bluebell Lodge.
Which is not like a fancy steak place, but fancier than a sports bar.
Right.
So they had different like types of steak, but they also did have burgers. We wanted to go try the bison and elk meat that they had.
Yeah.
So, which were both very good. I got this bison steak tip.
And you loved that. You said
it was very good. I can't remember the name of it, but it was very good.
I got a bison burger, also great. But it was just a really cool feel. It's like cabin. It's part of the Custer National Park. They have a few different lodges and things like that that have gift shops or restaurants or various other things. So this was one of them. But we had a great time. It was a really cool spot. So definitely recommend. I think it was the best food that we ate out while we were in the area.
I would think so, yeah.
So that was Monday. That was our anniversary, which was great. On Tuesday, the weather cleared up a lot more, so we decided to go to Mount Rushmore, especially because it was looking like it was going to rain a lot of the rest of the week, which it sort of did. Mount Rushmore was great on Tuesday.
We went after work, and so we got there around 5, 6 o'clock. There wasn't a ton of people. Turns out on Tuesday there isn't a lot of people.
Who knew?
Traveling through the area. So we had Mount Rushmore, not to ourselves, but definitely less crowded than it normally is. And we watched a little video that explains kind of the history of how it was made. It was like 15 minutes. And then there is the museum where it goes into all the in-depth information. Very cool. You can see like a lot of the sculptures they modeled the Mount Rushmore off of, and the carver, his whole history.
Yeah. We
then did the President's Trail.
Yep.
Which is like a mile, maybe less. It's not long.
We definitely recommend starting like from the visitor center side, not the sculpture studio side, because it makes a big difference as far as how much uphill you're doing. If you start from the sculpture studio, then it's like all uphill.
I think there was a sign that said 200 plus stairs up.
Yeah. So start from the visitor center side. Makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that, got some really great views of Mount Rushmore. It was really cool. You can't get very close to it, unfortunately, which I was kind of hoping for, but it is what it is. So we still had a great experience there. It was like, this might sound kind of odd, but it was cooler than we were expecting. You know, you hear about it and you're just not sure if it's going to be like, okay, great, and then you're kind of done. But it was actually very cool, and we timed it really well. We walked around. We ended up at the sculpture studio, and just timed it well for this like presentation. It was 20 or so minutes. The guy was great. He just gave us a lot of information about why it's called Mount Rushmore and why those particular presidents, and more information about the sculptor himself and the area and all that. So that was awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Recommend. 100% recommend. I mean, it's one of the most iconic national monuments in the U.S., so it's worth it. And that was on Tuesday.
Yep.
Wednesday, we previously ordered a package.
We were in the Badlands.
But everything in the Badlands takes so long. So the package got delayed about a week. And we had to go back and pick it up. They couldn't ship it to us.
Thankfully, it was only a couple hours away. I mean, it was still farther than we kind of really wanted to drive back for, but it worked out all right. So we drove back to the Badlands on Wednesday morning. Honestly, just like picked up the package, ran by Wall again because we wanted more fudge, and then left. So on our way back, we drove through Rapid City. There's a couple of different museums and things to do in Rapid City, but we were most interested in just seeing some of the presidents there. They have all of these statues of all the different presidents. So it was kind of fun on the way out. We were testing ourselves of like, what presidents did we remember and what did so-and-so do. So
then after we got back from our journey to the Badlands and Wall of Drug in Rapid City, we found a hike that was recommended from our book and also on All Trails called Cathedral Spires. It is on the Needles Highway in Custer State Park. Very cool. It's about a mile and a half out, and it says strenuous, but most of it was, I would say, like moderate difficulty. There's like this one hill you have to climb that's pretty strenuous, but you get to the top and it's really cool.
That was our favorite hike we did in the area. It wasn't even like one of the most popular ones. It was definitely up there as far as like we heard a couple different places or people mention it, but it was beautiful. You like walk, I mean, obviously you're hiking uphill, etc., and then you get to the middle and you're just surrounded by these really interesting spires, as you can probably guess from the title, all around you. So it was beautiful. We loved that. Thursday it rained, which makes sense because it was pretty much slated to rain off and on all week. So it rained a lot of the day. We didn't honestly do much, but we did go out to dinner at the Bugle and Bull in Custer, which was good. It was...
We ordered the bison burgers again because we figured we need to try it again. It was, like I said, it was good. If you are looking for somewhere to eat, I would recommend it, but it wasn't need to go there.
Right.
Go out of your way to go there. It was also a little more expensive than we were hoping, so just keep that in mind if you go.
They had elk burgers too, but they had run out. So if that's something you're interested in, we haven't seen those anywhere else on the menu. So that might be a good place to try them as well. If that's something you want, we just unfortunately didn't get to.
Friday, we took the 1880s train that actually goes from Hill City to Keystone.
And back.
And back. So it's about an hour-ish. I think it did it just under an hour both ways. So that was also very cool. It's the actual train engine that they used at some point. I don't remember the actual years they used it. The train cars were all refurbished train cars that they used for other reasons, for like hauling lumber or other materials.
Yeah, so that was really fun. Like you said, it was about an hour to Keystone from Hill City and then about an hour back. The train actually goes through the highest grade level of any train in the U.S., so it doesn't feel super steep, to be honest, whenever you're on it, but I guess it's significant. And it was still really cool. It was awesome just to see the area from a different perspective. You could see Black Elk Peak really well from there, which we learned actually on the train is the highest peak east of the Rockies, between the Rockies and the Swiss Alps. So, I mean, that's pretty wild. So that was cool to get to see that and just see the train. And it was just a really fun and peaceful experience, and definitely recommend. You can also like stop and go to Keystone for the day and then get a later train time as well, or vice versa if you're coming out of Keystone into Hill City. So that's a nice benefit as well if you want to do that with the family. Which
we discussed earlier, both are definitely worth seeing. So if you're staying in Keystone, it's a little more popular. Definitely worth taking the train into Hill City, spending an hour or two there, maybe get lunch, and then taking one of the next available train rides back.
Yeah.
You have to schedule them out, but I mean, it's really easy. There's like 4 times.
Right. So we definitely enjoyed that. That was awesome. And that was all we did on Friday because, again, it was kind of rainy in the afternoon, foggy again, and we were catching up on some work things.
Saturday, we made the decision to stay in Custer for another day or two because we had another package arriving. We have learned to not trust Amazon's delivery times as much when you're in the middle of nowhere. Expect an extra 3 to 4 days on delivery time every time. Yeah. Even if it says it'll be here Tuesday, just expect it'll be there Saturday.
It probably won't be here.
So we decided to stay an extra day, which was great. Our campground actually had a first come, first served spot that wasn't taken. So our host was super nice, and they
make friends with the camp hosts, we have learned.
They were super nice. They let us just move without any issues or challenges. With our extra time in the area, we decided to explore downtown Custer. We haven't done it yet. We were planning on it, but it just kind of got away from us.
Yeah.
But first, we went to Jewel Cave, which is about a half hour, 20 minutes outside of Custer. It's the less popular cousin to Wind Cave, but still very cool. So we went there. It's actually one of the largest caves in the world. It's bigger than Wind Cave is, supposedly.
It's the 3rd largest cave in the world. So that's pretty wild, and that's all based off of how much they have explored, and then also all these different scientific barometric measurements they've taken to determine how much more cave there is to explore. So they've explored, as of the time we went, about 230 or so miles of it, and they think that they've only seen 5% of the actual cave. So that's crazy.
So it was really cool to see. We had the tour. It was 2 hours
or so.
I think they said it was gonna be about an hour and a half, but our guide liked to talk, so ended up being about 2 hours. It was great. So you go down a couple hundred feet below the surface and just walk around the cave, and you can see all the small crawl spaces, and they have videos in the visitor center explaining all of it. So very cool. Worth the stop if you're in the area. Like I said earlier, we explored downtown Custer. which just had a couple of shops we wanted to look at while driving around. And they also had all these buffalo on every street corner.
Yeah.
That was painted. I don't know how they're painted. They're by the local businesses or something.
I'm not sure.
But those are cool.
We would say Custer was cooler than Keystone, but not as cool as Hill City. But the coolest shop there in general was this place called Claw, Antler, and Hide. It wasn't necessarily a taxidermy place, I don't think, but they sell claws, antlers, and hides. So it was really awesome. They had this big truck we kept driving by almost every day when we were driving through Custer that had like antlers outside. It was like $7 per pound. So we ended up with 4 antlers for like $14 or something like
cheap.
that. And this really beautiful pheasant hide that was just gorgeous. So, but they had all kinds of stuff. It was just a really cool spot. Things you would never normally get a chance to see. Really good prices. So that was really neat.
The owners it was this older couple, and we just asked them like how they started. They're super nice. They kind of explained their little story in 10 minutes, and then they shoot us away so we didn't scare away the other customers.
So yeah, it was a great spot. Definitely enjoyed getting to go see that. And like I said, Custer in general was pretty cool. Not as touristy as Keystone, but more touristy than
Custer had all of the souvenir shops that were all the same. They sell you the same shirt. They sell you the same everything. So if you're looking for, a bunch of different shirt designs, Custer does have that, but so did Keystone and everywhere else. And that was our week 3 recap. So we are currently on our way to Wyoming, as you can tell from our background here in the mountains, where we will be spending the next week exploring the mountains and kind of the smaller towns, maybe go to a rodeo or two. And that is our game plan.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching, and come back next week.